Hi, I'm Nick Shell with Fuller House Recaps. In case you haven't already heard this, in case you needed confirmation, yes, they're making a season 2 of Fuller House. Now, by now, there's a good chance you've watched at least 1 or 2 or 5 of my recaps where I go through all the highlights of each episode from a practical point of view in which I overanalyze it and think too much about what's going on. But I'm that voice of reason. So that's what I've been doing. But I want to announce that I've got plenty more recaps to do. I've got plenty more material, and here's why. Well, 2 main reasons I can think of right off. One is I'm going to be analyzing each character on the show and doing videos for each one of the characters. But also, just as exciting, after just a few days of Fuller House hitting Netflix, they went ahead and renewed it for a second season. And it's funny because apparently, as far as how critics overall have looked at the show, it's been hot and cold. Either people said, oh, it's way too corny. But the thing is, I don't think a lot of people have watched the original Full House in a long time, like 20 years. That's how the show always was. And I think Fuller House does a good job of accepting that and building on top of that. And so there's people who loved it, there's people who panned it. As for me, I obviously appreciate the show. And I'm glad to see that it's been renewed for a second season. So it's funny. So what we've learned from this is Netflix can bring this show back to life that everyone by default liked, right, in the late 80s and early 90s. And even if everyone doesn't like the show, who cares, right? Because enough people are going to watch it because they like it. And enough people will watch it just because they're curious. And enough people will watch it because they got suckered in after those first couple episodes, and now they want to know what's going to happen with DJ and who she's going to end up with. So obviously we can drag this out for several more seasons and see Stephanie finally start growing up, even though she's 34 years old. So there's a lot of potential with this. In case you haven't already heard this, in case you needed confirmation, yes, they're making a season 2 of Fuller House. Just a couple of days after the show was released, they decided, you know what? This is money. We need a second season. Let's do this. So they lucked out. All the people responsible for making Fuller House, this investment worked out. So let's see season 2. So in the meantime, you can make sure that you've seen every one of my recaps, all 13 episodes. And you can also watch as I dissect each character of the show and find out what I think the writers were really trying to do with each character of the show. Remember, I do have a degree in English. I'm trained to overanalyze these things. And I think there's more to be explored, especially in the characters of Lola, who's more of just kind of a guest star. Definitely Stephanie, who's they're trying to make so irresponsible as a 34-year-old. Maybe one day we'll learn more about Joey's wife. Why does he wear a wedding ring if we never talks about the wife? And speaking of mystery wives, there's also Danny Tanner's wife. I mean, he obviously got remarried, but it's not that redhead lady from, there was like fireworks, and did he ask her to marry him or something? I'd have to do the research, but obviously he married somebody else. Can we learn more about this wife? Because he's visited the Tanner home without her, as has Joey. He's visited the Tanner home without his wife as well. So let's learn more about the wives, right? This is Nick Shell with Fuller House Recaps.